Hello and welcome to this week's Global Star Party. I'm back! Thank you to Dylan for looking after the show last week because I was ill. In fact, I'm still kind of a bit rough around the edges, but the voice is back, so this is a start. So thank you to Dylan, who joins us tonight as our co-host. So welcome to the Global Star Party, our weekly show where we look at live views, and sometimes not so live views, depending on how the weather is, of things in space, whether it be planets, the sun, deep sky, the lot. And we have a couple of live views tonight as well, because Paul did his sacrificing goat routine, and I believe Andrew is also on the job with some imaging as well. So we have some live views, we have pictures from the Flickr group, and we have some bits and bobs to discuss as well. So welcome to the show. I shall briefly introduce the gallery of people below, starting of course with my ever resilient co-host Dylan.
Hey, good to be back. Pleasure to host properly last week, but I'm glad you're back on board, Chris, because I get sick of the sound of my own voice, and yours is lovely.
Yeah, nicely put. I like that. Yeah, my voice is lovely. It wasn't so lovely last week when I was coughing, spluttering, and otherwise being kind of gross. So we are also joined by Paul, who is bringing us Moon.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Good evening.
You mooning us?
How's the weather?
Looking good.
Sweet. I'm glad the sacrifice is paid off. We got some live views from Paul. So once again, I should crack open Stellarium and go, Paul, look at this. Paul, look at that. Paul. And then he'll just run away. We're also joined by Andrew this evening.
Good evening. How are you? I'm coming from Adelaide, South Australia, with very clear skies at the moment. So hopefully I'll have a few views for you.
Awesome. I can't wait to check out what you're going on there. You also said very clear skies. I really should stop buying astronomy equipment because I've just got clouds here. So enjoy it. It's on me. You're welcome. Right then, we are also joined by John. Hello, John.
Hi. Hi, guys. I'm in sunny Sydney, which is currently clouding over in preparation for a storm in about 10 minutes.
Minus 10 minutes.
T-minus 10 minutes. I've just been outside. So I won't be showing any images about 10. I kind of do a little bit of a discussion with Dylan about probably the Astrofest last weekend up in Queensland where we were.
Yeah.
We were up, so that might be a good talking point if you want to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, thank you. And we are also joined, now I'm going to say Martin as well, who's a newcomer to the show. He's currently muted. Not sure if he'll bring us any live, but you know, we shall keep a lookout to see what happens from the gallery below. And we're also joined by Trevor this evening as well.
Howdy, guys.
Hey. How you doing? Any live from you, or are you still suffering the curse of clouds?
Yeah, mate, I'm suffering from the I guess, what do you call it, the cloud gods?
Curse them!
Or the cloud devils, or the evils.
Yeah, well, as soon as someone invents an incredibly overpriced way of removing clouds, I will be the first in line to buy it. After selling my soul, or whatever remains of it anyhow. So, there we go. This is the group that are bringing you the craziness today. The Global Star Party is a weekly thing where we hopefully, generally, 90% of the time, stream live views. We also discuss current topics and things that we're up to as well in terms of astronomy, not just when we're having beer. You can follow us on Twitter. At Global Star Party, where we tweet out pictures from the Flickr group, tweet out shows, tweet out other bits and bobs of information, things that you might be interested in if you like, love and adore astronomy as much as we do. You can find us on Google Plus as Plus Global Star Party, and you can find us on Flickr as well, where we have some fantastic images submitted by viewers and the guys in the show as well, and occasionally when I get clear skies, even from me, and you can check out that. You can also join us in Q&A, which I'm just clicking on now to make sure that it's doing its thing. It is. So I've already got a question there as well. Can any astronomer image a quasar? We'll get to that one in a second. But you can join us in the Q&A. There's a button if you're watching on YouTube somewhere at the bottom. You click on that and you can ask us questions. You can make requests. Nothing too extreme. And bearing in mind that we're looking at Southern Hemisphere nighttime, so no asking from the Andromeda Galaxy. It's a little bit tricky from down there. Unless you've got
It's possible, but it's
give it a few hours. Give it a few hours.
All right then. So Dylan's just volunteered to do an extra long show to hang around so that we can get Andromeda. Sweet.
While we've got Paul's moon view up there, I'm curious as to whether the lunar X, is visible or whether we've just missed it. I have a feeling we might have just missed it, but I'm wondering, Paul, if you can zoom in on, I think it might be hinting there at the bottom. You might know what I'm talking about with the lunar X, and it might depend on the exposure as well, but I can see a hint of a line there at the bottom. We might have just missed it.
That's not the bottom, that's the top.
Oh, there could be a hint of a line there.
So whilst we're just looking for a lunar X, which I think I roughly know what they're on about, because, you know, I'm an expert at this, honest, Paul here is bringing us a live view of the moon through the interwebs, which is, you know, pretty awesome. The moon is a pesky thing if you're doing deep sky, but it's a beautiful thing to look at, even if it is upside down and freaking me out right now. So you can tell it's live because it wobbles. That's the trick. If it's live and it's a bright object, it wobbles thanks to atmospheric seeing.
So there is a point during the moon's phase at the end of the first quarter where you get that little hint of the lip of the crater just down sort of lower central to what Paul's got up here, where there's an X on the moon. There is also a V as well, but I think we're just out of sync to get the X itself, but we might have just missed it, or maybe it's just coming, but I think we've just missed it. But the lunar X is, one of those little astro nerd things that people who image the moon like to do is to capture the X.
Well, we will get 37 more chances very soon when the moon inexplicably duplicates in the sky. Yeah.
It's amazing what people fall for.
It is. Yes, there's this thing going around on many of you have probably seen it if you follow any community, if you're on any kind of social media. There has been this picture going around of Mars, the same size as the moon in the sky, once in a 100-year chance. It's not going to happen unless some significant catastrophe hits our solar system, and either we zoom towards Mars or Mars zooms towards us. Of course, if Mars zooms towards us, cool, fantastic, incredible. We'll ignore the repercussions of tidal forces and the solar system going to hell. Great photos, not going to happen, not in a million years. So I did share out a picture of the of someone's rather sarcastic joke version of it, where the moon is duplicated 37 times in the sky.
I think I might have seen that, Chris. It was quite funny.
If you see something which is too good to be true or defies the laws of physics, then, well, basically defies the laws of physics, so it's too good to be true. It's not going to happen. It's just, no.
A politician.
Yeah, there is that. But it's... Even though we are looking for lunar X, of course, I'm going to make a new one. This particular phase of the moon, you'll see the face of Jeebus. Yes, you could tell I'm back after a break. I'm full of energy and slight amounts of British sarcasm. Let's go over to Andrew's view quickly here, and ooh, it's fuzzy. What are we looking at, Andrew?
Okay, this is the Comet C 2014, I think it is. 2013, US 10 Catalina.
Ooh,
and this is a comet,
beautiful.
Of course. And it's currently in the southern skies, right, pretty close to the South Celestial Pole. So.
It's circumpolar, which means you can see it all night long.
Oh, I like those kind of objects.
And Catalina is getting brighter and brighter every day. You can see this through binoculars already. So if you're in the southern hemisphere, you've got a scope, you've got binoculars. even if they're modest, go out there and use one of those planetarium apps to figure out where it is, and check it out, because it's already visible through a small instrument, but it's getting brighter and brighter every day. Now, the light plot that they have for this thing is going to get brighter and brighter every day until New Year's. So that's a lot of time for this thing to get bright, considering we can already see it and image it already. So by that time, by New Year's, it's going to flip over into the Northern Hemisphere, and this could be a very significant naked eye Northern Hemisphere comet, which I know the Northern Hemisphere guys haven't had for a long, long time. And our Southern Hemisphere guys have been treated over again. But this one should put on a good show for the whole world if it's going to keep getting brighter. And in that time, it's going to pass a whole lot of objects, and it's probably going to give us a lot of opportunity to photograph this thing passing all sorts of lovely clusters and nebula. So, yeah, Comet Catalina. Definitely remember this one. It's going to be good.
I'm just going to do something quickly for the Northern Hemisphere astrophotographers out there. That finally a comet that we might get a look at. You watch. It's going to get to the northern side of the world and then just go poof and disappear.
Yeah.
It's a comet. It's a comet.
Dylan, when we were at Astrofest, Dylan, I was using a set of 8.5 by 42 binoculars to look at Catalina.
I remember those binoculars quite well, because as you passed them into my hand, you said, "Oh, these are $2,500,000," and I was very careful not to drop them at any point, like I dropped my telescope tonight. So yes, I do remember the views through that particular pair of binoculars. They were fantastic, but I don't think we got the comet that night. Not through the binders anyway.
I got it.
You did?
I got it.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I got it. And Sculptor Galaxy as well, and other things. But yeah,
nice.
So that was. So I'm interested in what you just sort of said about it's getting brighter and brighter. So that, I mean, they're only 8.5 times with a very average light gathering capacity of 42 rather than 50.
Yeah.
So anybody with a decent set of, I mean, that's just beautiful.
It really is.
Beautiful. That's just beautiful.
We're watching. What have you done here, Andrew?
Okay, I just did a quick animation of 19 frames. Just stretched the image a little bit, showing the light pollution around the comet as a pink sort of colour. I'm actually shooting directly over Adelaide City at the moment, so I'm getting the full light dome of Adelaide.
Yeah. So 19 frames, and you're shooting, what was it? Is it a minute or less?
That was shooting at 120 seconds, so 2 minutes, yeah.
Okay. Yep. Great.
There's quite a bit of movement.
Yeah, 40 minutes.
Relatively speaking, because it's this now. Then someone can fill me in on the details. So I've never imaged a comet with a wide field, 300mm lens on a camera kind of thing. I've never tried anything more because light pollution and angles and everything, but. Is this movement more the comet, or is it more the relative rotation of the stars in the background? Was it a combination of the both? Which one's the bigger factor here? Our rotation or the comet's movement?
I hear what you're saying, yeah. Because the comet is way closer, then yes, it does appear to move across the stars, but it's actually the stars moving. But they're both moving. I mean, yes. We're rotating. The Earth is rotating. Yeah.
Actually, one of my plans to make everyone feel really rather queasy is to take a time-lapse of the night sky, but then just, rather than the usual, oh look, the stars are moving trick, I'm going to fix the stars and I'm going to have the ground moving to kind of show that it's, so that should make everyone feel nice and sick, but that's the plan anyhow. But that is lovely, Andrew. I mean, I photographed a comet once. I think it was actually that Pan-STARRS one that panned out to be not so good. Pun somewhat intended. But comets are a beautiful thing to look at. And of course, they were.
Lovejoy was good. Comet Lovejoy was good.
That was great. Yeah, for both hemispheres.
That was more. That was the first one that I photographed. Strange enough, a bit like what Andrew did, but I did it more basic in terms of I just put my phone against my computer screen and just took a video.
That works.
Yeah.
Dylan, perhaps you could go into a little bit of detail about a recent event on your side of the planet?
Yes. So last night in Australia, there was a very hyped up event where lots of astronomers and lots of school children and lots of just sky gazers across the world got together to try and beat the world record for the most number of people sky gazing at the same time. Now, this was not just looking at the stars, but actually looking at the stars through some kind of an object. So it only counted if you had a telescope, or looked through a telescope, or looked through binoculars as well. So the previous record is held in the Guinness Book of Records by Mexico, who had just over 3,000 people, and that's in the record books now. But last night, the Stromlo Observatory and a bunch of other people distributed these little babies all across Australia, and these tiny little scopes are the same power. I don't actually have the specs here, but the same power that Galileo used, which is nice. And now they can be mass manufactured in China for $5 a piece. And it looks like we've got the numbers. Looks like the preliminary numbers anyway, the evidence packs that each site sent back to Guinness, we're looking at about 7,000 or more, 7,500. So it looks like Australia may have smashed that record, and we should hear more on that soon. I'm sure other countries, I'm looking at you, America, could probably bat that out of the park at a single star party, but you just have to get together and do it.
I was going to say, Dylan, what's the payload capacity of that mount there?
I would say it's about 50 grams.
It's pretty sturdy.
You'll get a mead on that easy.
I was good enough for Galileo, it's good enough for me.
Well, I actually now want to see you take a mobile phone photo through that scope. I want to see the resolving power of that bad boy right there.
I should hook up a QHY 5L and stack it and pix inside. I reckon we'd get a decent result.
I actually, you know what? Because it's Galileo, or Galileo spec, should I say? You've got Saturn still on your side of the world, haven't you?
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
I challenge thee to photograph Saturn through that telescope.
All right, challenge accepted. I'll see what I can do.
Awesome! I can't wait. I expect it to be of Kevin Franklin quality.
It won't be the telescope that lets it down. It'll be the QHY.
Oh, it was fun.
These shoots and these scores.
I'm not getting into that one. Now, Paul has turned into a picture of a really fancy telescope and a mount. So I don't know if he's having some kind of issues there, or if he's given up on the light view and he's run away.
Paul's our telescope ninja. I'm sure he's whizzing around on new objects as we speak. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yes, I just knew how to tease it. What the heck is that, Paul?
Ooh, I think I recognise this. I think this is Corona Australis. Am I right, Paul?
I'll let Dylan talk about this one since he made me image it really.
Corona Australis. This is the Corona Australis molecular cloud, which is a beautiful dark nebula around the Corona Australis constellation, and it's got everything. It's got dark nebula. It's got reflection nebula. It's got a globular cluster. It's got double stars, so that you got the double star in the middle there, and the other one, the brighter one in the center region, is also a double star as well. I believe it's a star-forming region as well. But yeah, it's a really big part of the sky too. In fact, this image only shows a small section of it. It stretches out for ages. It's really quite large, and if you look at some Southern Sky Milky Way shots, you can even see it in wide field. You can see this dark little blob way away from the bright areas. It's sort of sitting out in the darkness of space, and it's a magnificently dark and beautiful nebula region.
I just love it every time you say the word dark, Dylan. It's so dark.
The dark nebulas, they're the ones that get left behind. Everyone's doing the big flashy emission ones, but the dark ones, they're more challenging as well to image because you've got to.
Strange enough.
It's the dark.
Yeah. Well, because when you image them, your camera already has all the pixels aren't just at zero. All the pixels have a value, so you have to stack a hell of a lot of them to work out which is just normal neutral background of the stars and which is the actual dark nebula. And then you get this brown detail as well on the fringes. It's really nice.
To find the darkest dark, you must stack. It's true, actually. I've seen some pictures where they come out. They do look quite brownish.
So it's really a brown nebula then.
Yeah. It's not so dark after it's brown.
Oh, come on, that's a bit racist.
Did we just enter that conversation? Anyhow, there's a globular cluster there.
Pull it back.
That's a nice globular cluster going on there. I'm assuming because everyone focuses on the dark nebula, it gets overlooked. Can we name the globular cluster?
Oh, I can't offhand.
You see, everyone overlooks the poor globular.
Yeah, that's because they're boring.
I'll have
I'm
you
just going
know
to
that
quickly share mine.
they're very pretty. I like globular clusters because they're bright and my mount can handle them. Yeah, right. Yeah. Ooh, you see, that's Dylan's view, and you see he's got the darkness out nicely here, folks. The velvetiness, it's there.
So this is what I was saying about how large it is. Paul's got a great view of that central region, but it doesn't even fit in this view, which is a hyperstar field of view. But yeah, it just seems to have everything. This object, really like it. I keep going back to it actually.
Does it have planets?
Okay, it doesn't have everything. Sorry.
I have to be that guy. Actually, no, you could have actually said you could have been a complete smart doodah there, and you could have gone. Yes.
It probably does. Yes.
Probably does because of all the stars.
Lots of exoplanets. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. In fact, you could hypothetically say it's got unicorns, but we won't go into that one.
Some people call this middle region Yoda's walking stick. I don't know can you see my mouse pointer?
I can.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this area here they call Yoda's walking stick, and with this being Yoda's head. Oh, and we have a message here from Teal, who has just identified the globular cluster for us as NGC 6723.
Thank you. At least the poor globular got some at least a name, not a particularly glamorous name. Dylan, you're good at coming up with names for these things. You'll have to name that a globular cluster.
I'm sure I can come up with something.
Because someone came up with Yoda's stick, for heaven's sake, on that.
There was someone on MySpace who did a really good job of it. But I'm all for these common names.
You know what? I mean, to be fair, it's kind of like some kind of spectre. I mean, if you take the bluish fuzziness of the two bright, well, the double star and the brighter star below it, and you got the kind of the dark body. It's a bit spectre-ish. You see, you could just run wild with the imagination on these things, but it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm assuming that this kind of massive dusty region here will be responsible for. Would it be responsible for any star formation? Will this collapse into anything?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is an active star formation region. Just the denseness of that dust collapses in on itself and explodes.
And the fact that we can't see
nebulous regions are magnitude 10, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Give us some facts. So.
Just using Sky Safari.
Yes. When in doubt, Google.
Nothing technical. Nah, not Google. Jesus, no.
Actually, Tor here, Wish, to our viewers as well. I'm crowdsourcing this question because Google has so far failed me. But if anyone could find out the weight in pounds of a Meade LX90 ACF 8-inch tube, let me know in the Q&A because I can't find it for love nor money. And trust me, this will become critical in future sessions with me, hopefully doing some live imaging. Maybe
I'm fairly sure it would be easier to get your bathroom scales out. Just take it off the mount.
I don't have any bathroom scales, and I daren't take it off that mount until I've actually got the replacement mount because I've heard that putting it back in is horrible.
If you defork it and then you try and put it back on again, it's a one-way trip to hell.
Yes, because apparently you've got to redo lots of stuff. But anyhow, Andrew, are we ready with another object? This is the question. No pressure.
You might be having too much fun on imaging Comet Catalina. I know I would be if I had it in my sights and had that many frames already.
This is true. This is true. I'm just gonna. Oh.
I just slid over to M7 to grab a few frames on that. So
sweet. I shall look out for that because. Oh God, does he see Paul's comment or something? And Andrew's got something. All right, I'm going to click on Andrew. There we go. Right then. Looks like an open cluster. I like it.
Near the tail of Scorpius.
Oh, I think I could actually possibly get this one myself from my side of the planet. Maybe. Yeah, I think I can. So then, what's the exposure length on this?
180.
Is that 180? Ah, yeah, okay. Ah, yeah, all the information's there. Including his histogram. Very nice. It's a nice open cluster. Now, people sometimes are a bit prejudiced against clusters. There's just a bunch of stars, but I think they're quite nice. Is there any nebulosity associated with this one at all, or is this just a straight-up nice collection of stars?
It's just a boring collection of stars, yeah.
Oh.
Come on now, John.
Yeah.
Once you see an NGC 5139, that's it. It's all over. Everything else is just pants.
No, there is nebulosity in here, but you'd have to zoom way back, because it's a hugely dense region, the tail of Scorpius, and you will see nebulosity there, but not when you're zoomed in so close. And shooting with the DSLR, I would say you won't get as much. But I'm just biased against DSLRs now because of because I'm in Camp CCD. But I do still shoot with my DSLR a lot, actually. All the lunar work I do is DSLR, and the ISS transit and even planets are pretty good.
I'm sorry. I'm just clicking on you there. Can you stare straight into your camera and tell me that digital SLR is good for planets?
It's not too bad. I've seen some good work with this program, Backyard EOS. Yeah, you can do it's sort of a pseudo region of interest where you take the video but you can zoom right in. And I've got some okay stuff. It's definitely not as good as doing a little region of interest on a high-speed camera. But yeah, just in terms of CCD versus DSLR, you're not going to get much planetary work done with your CCD.
Oh, you could give it a go. Might be a bit tricky. I mean, heck, you could try. Right, I'm going to say this right now. SLR cameras, they are great for weddings, family portraits, pretty pictures of flowers. In fact, because of the weather I've had recently, I've taken some lovely photos of sunflowers. If you check out my Google Plus page, I've got a nice photo of a sunflower on there. Because weather sucks. But as a beginner who basically went out and got himself an 8-inch telescope, old as, and I thought plugging an SLR in was going to be like, job's a good one. No.
It's a good starting point though, and they are versatile because you can do it. You can use it for everything else. So if money is tight, then a DSLR is a really great first step.
If you've got an SLR to hand and you've just got a telescope, you will get some nice photos. There is no denying it. You can get photos of the Orion Nebula. Hey, I've managed to get photographs of planetary nebula, globular clusters, and all sorts with an SLR. But you're going to come across a limit unless you've got copious amounts of time in permanently clear skies. The noise an SLR generates is going to be the biggest fight on your hands. So eventually you will succumb to CCD imaging and being permanently poor. But in terms of planetary imaging, as a personal piece of advice, you want a high-speed imaging cam. You can go webcam. You can modify webcams and plug these into telescopes as a cheap alternative. And I have seen some really impressive results with webcams. But and again, this is just from personal use. There's a great range of cameras out there. But I've used this new Chinese company called ZWO, and their ASI cameras, whether it be the mono or the color, are fast and effective. And your limitation then really is USB speed and how big your aperture is. But in terms of planetary imaging, I personally would not recommend an SLR because you can try and shoot. Even these SLRs with video options nowadays, I still don't particularly recommend. You don't want to waste that space. You want a nice region of interest on a smaller chip with decent sized pixels, and just go for it that way. I've waffled. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to
give Paul some airtime.
Everyone at Paul.
I kept it.
So Chris, I think your scope's around about 13.5 pounds.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Oh. I'm going to make a quick notepad. Paul, what are we looking at whilst I write down 13.5 pounds?
That's without the glass.
I guess it's only a small scope. It's nothing. It's not as big as one.
Okay, so whilst they're picking on the size of my scope, Paul, what are we looking at?
This is M54, Sagittarius dwarf globular cluster.
I like it. You see, sometimes small is good, and that one looks really dense, or it's just really far away, or it is really small. Small and dense. Paul, this small and dense object far, far away, how far is it, and how long is the exposure time on this one?
These are just 45 seconds RGB exposures.
Nice. That's actually, I mean, it's. I suppose if you were to casually, glance over this area of the sky, you think, oh, it's just a nearby close star. But that has. You can see that that is a cluster because you can see it breaks down into smaller stars. That's nice. What's the focal length on this to get that?
There's just a little 132mm f5 scope.
Nice. We've not looked at this one before, so it's always good to see new stuff, new faces, and new objects in space on the show. I've also had a request coming on Q&A. The requests, they come. Can we look at either or both of the Magellanic Clouds?
I can actually share a view of the small Magellanic Cloud right now, which is just a raw frame from the Queensland Astrofest from last weekend. I was there with John, and this was just one of the targets I was using to align my scope. It's not a great frame, but just straight off the camera. So there you go, small Magellanic Cloud.
That's pretty sweet. Nice.
You can see the nice nebula up there.
Yeah.
I say that. Oh, and Paul is also bringing us Cloud. Oh, he's flicking all over the place. What's this one, Paul?
This is the Swadden Nebula.
I thought this. You see, I'm beginning every time we do this show and we look at these beautiful views from the south. I'm beginning to learn. It's like in my head the word swan was there. I'm learning. The show is teaching me stuff. Nice. Is this? How long is the exposure time on this one? I'm assuming this is RGB.
Yep, still 45 seconds each.
I envy your dark skies, or just how bright this object is, or both. I'll go for both. That is lovely. It's still not my favourite, the Triffid.
We've done the Triffid, Chris.
Alright, fine.
Refer to earlier episodes.
Fine, I'll just watch the early ones. Nice.
The strange thing is that with the Swan Nebula, there's a lot of articles like the Triffid you look at through telescopes and Lagoon and da-da-da. And they don't really look like what they're described as. But when I went to Astrofest, on the visual field where Dylan was not supposed to be, there's a guy with a 16-inch Newtonian, and he showed me the Swan Nebula, and it's the only nebula I would say that actually looked like what it was.
Wow.
And I was like, it was honestly jaw-droppingly brilliant.
And just so we can fill the show in with a little bit of educational benefit here. What exactly is the Swan Nebula? And don't say nebula.
It's a swan.
It's a giant intergalactic swan.
I didn't use the N word.
Oh, jeez. It's going downhill.
I think this is the first time I'm going to stick a PG-13 plus rating on the show. We also have had a request on the Q&A from, I'm going to say, a guy called Niles. My pronunciation skills are awful. Can you show a view of the Eta Carina?
Eta Carina NGC 3372.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it on the NGC number. So, imaging guys, live view guys, any chance of looking at Eta Duda?
Yeah, I think Andrew and Paul should be able to get it.
That was a beautiful shot of M16 shooting past. That's beautiful.
I can say one thing about the Swan Nebula before we move on, is that apparently it is one of the biggest and brightest star-forming regions that we can see, like Orion, but unlike Orion, we're seeing this nebula side-on. So whereas we see Orion with its big open cavity and the big bright star-forming trapezium, with the Swan Nebula it's sort of the same, but we are only seeing it edge-on, sort of the same way we sometimes see galaxies edge-on and we don't get the big, beautiful spiral.
Ah, that's interesting. That kind of gives a sense of dimension to it. I like that. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Although I have to admit, though, the Orion Nebula, I can't wait for winter time to start imaging that one with my new camera.
It's like that every year. Every year you go, all these targets that I did last year, and I can do them again with all the stuff I bought.
Yes. Yeah, it's all to the way. Trevor is also sharing. Ooh,
this is beautiful. This is actually. I just pulled this picture up just to show you what a $195 camera can do.
Nice. What camera is it?
Okay, this is a color CMOS camera. Pretty much as in chip wise, the same specs and same as the ZWOs. But just letting you know that these particular cameras are about $195.
It's true, although contrary to an earlier conversation just before the show on air, you don't have to spend a fortune to do astro imaging. And I say that with a raised eyebrow. There is a caveat there.
Yeah, as someone who's living in near poverty because they spent all his money on astrophotography, you're trying to give us advice about not spending money.
Okay.
Sometimes
somebody's just been owned on.
Despite the giggling naughty children below me, there is a caveat to this. You don't have to spend much to do astrophotography. You can point a regular camera at the sky. You can get a reasonable telescope, stick an SLR in, or you can even. I've seen some fantastic photos of people holding their phone against the eyepiece and still getting some pretty nice photos. The caveat is that once you start on this, it is like an addiction. Not as bad as a proper addiction, bearing in mind, but it is, it is akin. There is a passion that you will probably get from looking at stuff in space because it is beautiful.
I'm still trying to stick to the PG-13 rating we've got at the moment.
Okay, don't make me mute you.
I can definitely tell you do end up with a huge inventory of gadgets.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you will start off, and if you're into it like us, you will start off and you'll either make some mistakes which end up costing later in the line, or you'll get such a love for this subject matter that it will just end up costing you because you just want to get bigger, better, more specialist. You'll find something specific you're into, whether it be planetary work, and you become the Damien Peach of us all and take immaculate NASA-like photos of planets. Or you become a wide field junkie like Dylan, and you go all hyperstar and just try to photograph the entire sky at the same time, skipping all the details.
Look, this comes up in conversation with people I know a lot, and they see my photos and they see photos of my telescope, and they go, "Wow, you must have spent a lot of money on all that stuff." And honestly, I could have probably bought a new car over the last 18 months buying all this stuff. But if I had bought a new car, I would have just had a new car. And it would have had nowhere near the amount of joy and pleasure I've got out of doing what I've been doing over the last 18 months. I feel like I've bought a spaceship, if anything, and it's been really great. And I wouldn't take all the money back in the world.
I was going to say, I mean, this brings me to something that I repeat a couple of times on the show, and it is the reason that we do this and share our views is because I think a lot of people who do astro imaging and astrophotography will say this, that it's great. You stand in your garden, field, desert, wherever you are with a telescope or your set of binoculars or even with just the bare eyes, as long as you've got dark enough sky, a la Australia outback style, and you look up and it is wonderful. And then the ability to take photos and share that with people online or friends, neighbours, colleagues, whatever, assuming they don't start yawning because you've waffled on about the technical details too much, it's great. And the look of interest or excitement or wonder on people's faces is always worth it. Or even inviting someone to stand next to you and look at Saturn or Jupiter through an eyepiece for the first time and watching their childlike slack-jaw face come away from the eyepiece going, is that real? Wow, is always amazing. So to share stuff through the internet is a heck of a thing to be able to do that. And yes, you don't have to spend a fortune, but it is such an enjoyable thing, at least for the people who get into it, to do. You do end up spending the money, and it is horribly expensive, and it will break you mentally and financially if you let it. But you don't have to. This is why we should jump to the Flickr group in a bit. There are some beautiful photos being shared out there, and we shall have a look at those in a little bit. And they're great. And they're taking Paul a whole range.
Paul a bit of airtime. He's got Tarantula Nebula up the looks of it, which is one of my favourites. It's stunning. And I'll get the Flickr group up.
It looks like, I'm just saying because this is normally Dylan's round, it looks like a head crab eating a light bulb. There's a Half-Life reference in there as well, so
yeah, I got it.
For geeky. So, Paul, how are you bringing us the head crab eating a light bulb?
Well, someone asked for the large magnetic cloud, so this is about as much as we can get of that in my field of view.
Nice. Look at that beauty. And it is. It's this light bulb is illuminating the head crab from within. That is really rather... I'm trying to figure out then. So this is a dark nebula. But it's got something light in the middle of it. So is this like another nebula within it? Or is this something else? I mean, what are we looking at? Does anyone have a good answer that doesn't mean I have to waffle?
I don't. I do know that Hubble have some pretty spectacular images on the fringes of this object. It's really complex. It's not your straightforward nebula. So yeah, I don't have any more information than that. Sorry.
There does seem to be a lot going on in this image. There seems to be a lot of dark nebulosity and a lot of other kinds of nebulosity in this area.
Yeah, I mean the thing we have to remember when we're looking at the SMC or the LMC is we're looking at another galaxy. A lot of the big nebulas that we take photos of are in our galaxy. They're in the Milky Way. When we're looking at LMC, we're looking at someone else's galaxy and taking photos of their nebulas. So all of those little spots that you see there, they're massively beautiful objects for those guys. They're probably sitting there and going, "Oh, did you see M42 last night?" And and arguing about mounts. But yeah, this is someone else's nebula. It's from another galaxy.
You mentioned Paramount, you can't argue about it.
You can because of the price. And skipping to Andrew's view. Andrew, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, this is just a region near in Centaurus called CED 122. It's just a very faint nebula around that area, but because I'm using an unmodded DSLR and you need really long exposures, I didn't quite pick it up enough. But this is the first time that I've used PixInsight to do the processing, and it was quite a bit better than my attempt with Deep Sky Stacker, so I'm really happy with that.
I mean,
yeah, I did see the before one for this, Andrew, and it was remarkable how far you've brought this image with PixInsight. I know a few of us have been jumping onto the PixInsight bandwagon lately, and it is it's a deep program, but it is fantastic, and for just picking up the program, you've done well.
Oh,
that's right. so at the go on.
Just saying, I'm just clicking back on Paul's view there, so I just have to stare at that again. I mean, you're bringing that in from tonight, Paul, so that is pretty awesome. Cheers, dude. That is brilliant. And I also have a question in Q&A that I can field before we go over to the Flickr images. From Niles. Sorry, I'm terrible at pronunciation. I keep warning people about this. I do apologize. If a planet gets swallowed by a star, what will happen with the planet inside the star? Well, I can field that one really easy. Not a snowball's chance in hell. The planet will be pretty much just straight up vaporized and turned into a molecular cloud of what was once a planet and then consumed by the star. There will be no planet. It will not be inside the star. It will just be gas, basically. It will tear. The heat and the pressure alone would shred the planet before it actually came into contact with the star. Then the pressure from the star in terms of the radiation and what have you coming off of it will blow a lot of that actually away. The planet, as soon as it gets towards the star, will then be a la sci-fi paintings that you've probably seen, will just turn into this crumbling mass of debris, and assuming that it ever got close enough, anything that actually fell into the star will just be turned into gas and be consumed by the star. But a lot of it would also be blown away as just rubble and vapor. It would be complete annihilation for that poor little planet. But interestingly enough, for instance, in the case of our star, as our star becomes a red giant, a subgiant or something or other, it's not exactly red giant to start with. As it expands outwards, it starts shedding a lot of its mass, so its actual gravitational influence actually goes down as it starts shedding this mass. And there is this interesting situation where we could actually end up changing orbit because the sun will have less gravitational influence on us, and we will actually move further and further away from the sun. Eventually, we actually may just shoot off into the distant galaxy without a host star and become a rogue planet, a frozen, if not somewhat desolate, because everything's been burnt off it beforehand, because the amount of heat and energy and light the star is putting out goes up intensely. But we will probably never actually come into contact with our star when it puffs out, because we'll probably get blasted away after losing our atmosphere and oceans. But yeah, if a planet could actually physically fall into a star, no planet. Just there's no planet. It's gone. It is nothing more than rubble that gets slowly evaporated away. It's not
It has left this mortal coil.
Yeah, in terms of destructive forces, stars pretty much have the be-all and end-all on that one, because if they're not turning into black holes, they're turning into pulsars or giant exploding supernovas. So yeah, don't mess with stars. And that also goes with telescopes. They will blind you.
Clearly thought a lot about this, Chris.
I used to scare my next-door neighbour every time I was looking at the sun. Anyhow, Dylan, this is a pretend narrow field view, but I shall let you do the whole Flickr thing.
Okay, so I'm over on our Flickr page. Thank you everyone who contributes images to our Flickr page. It's got over 500 now, which is great because we're only up to episode 12. So we definitely don't have enough time to go into detail with all of them. This is a quick one that I imaged while John here in the room was standing next to me, and we were just babbling away at Astrofest. He actually suggested the target, and it was a good one. It's not the best image. It's a bit challenging at a star party to get everything aligned right, and I definitely would like to try this again without the hyperstar. But it was my first time doing this one, the Helix Nebula, which is a planetary nebula. As Chris was just talking about the death of stars, this is what happens after a red giant dies and ejects all of their mass off into space. And the Helix Nebula is the king of the planetary nebulas. It's one of the bigger ones that we can image, and a favourite among astrophotographers. So I was happy to get this one.
If my computer wasn't locked up, I would show you the single frame from a CCD of that image, but I've unlocked my computer by using PixieSight, so I can't do anything.
I see. We've got the Pleiades, which is also another favourite from David Simonetti. Thank you very much, David, for sending this through. Quite good. You can see the nebulosity there. There is a hell of a lot more nebulosity though in the Pleiades, so you could probably back the black point off on this one. It's maybe a little bit too black, but yeah, very nice. Another one from Shah. We keep seeing Shah's images every week, and they're just fantastic. He shoots from Malaysia, so he's up against some pretty significant pollution and light pollution challenges, but he's got us Venus again, the crescent Venus, and it's just stunning, his images. Absolutely stunning. I can't believe
is beautiful.
The detail he gets.
That is also reminiscent of that recent New Horizons photo of Pluto, as it was that kind of atmosphere silhouette. That's lovely.
Yeah, so it drifted back. So that's going to get smaller and smaller. This is the sunspot from this week, AR2403, another one from Shah. I'm sure Paul's probably got some of these as well. This is the current active region on the Sun. Beautiful work. As speaking of the devil, here's Paul's in Calcium K.
Look at that. That's lovely.
And in wide field, with some beautiful prominences on the edge there, which Paul is showing as well, and which I'm showing now. Really great.
Nice.
Paul is very well known for his solar work. Oh, and here's one from Russell Bateman, who may be watching from Canada. If you are watching from Canada or North America, please contact us and bring us your telescope views, because we need more people from that side of the planet.
This is true. I shall be putting out a request repeatedly over the next week, so hopefully we can get some live views next week of the American darkness and the Witch's Broom. I love this nebula.
Yeah, speaking of Northern Hemisphere targets, Witch's Broom. You did this recently, didn't you, Chris?
I did the really, really tiny bit around 52 Cygni, which is that bright star in the middle there. I did a tiny little crop of that view because, it's a huge object. I mean, in fact, you can get the complete loop is, I think it's like 36 times the size of a full moon. So yeah, that's a very big mosaic for my setup, but that is a lovely view there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Saturn from Shah. Daytime Saturn, which is good. There was Andrew, CD122. Sorry, let's just quickly flick back to Andrew, because I saw, Andrew, that you were flicking between your before and after. We do this sometimes when we have old data. We'll go back and we'll reprocess old data. And here we go, the before and after. We're on Andrew there?
We are.
So you can see the difference a little knowledge makes. Processing the same set of data with a different set of tools and a bit more time and patience.
I was going to say, data processing. I mean, it's you capture an image, and if you try to explain it to a lot of people, they think you just plug a camera in, click, and there's your photo. If only it was like that. You collect a lot of data, and then you can stitch it which way and that, and you can do all sorts of stuff with it. But it's a lot of fine tuning, and it's nice actually the ability to go back to old data with new knowledge and try it again, and that is a lovely result for the effort.
And also, before we wrap up the show, can we quickly see Martine's sharing M66 Leo triplet? Is this one of yours, Martine? I don't think Martine has a microphone, but maybe he can tell us. He says yes, this is one of his. So this is a really nicely processed image. Last April, yep, the Leo triplet. It's a fantastic combination of spiral galaxies or barred spiral galaxies at all different sort of angles, but they're really close together, so you can get them in one field of view. He says it's 6 hours of data using Hyperstar and a C8. Nice. Celestron 8-inch SCT. Good stuff, Martine. Thank you for contributing to the show and coming on tonight. That's great work.
That is a beautiful. I mean, I'm going to sound like a small child once again, but it's that fuzziness is just billions and billions of stars, and it still amazes me every time I look at it. That is awesome. Ooh, and Paul's got something. The tidal
Unfortunately,
trail.
not live. This is
Nice.
the same comment that Andrew showed at the start of the show.
Catalina.
Nice. How long was the exposure length on this then?
This is about 20 60-second exposures.
What's the? And I'm going to have to ask because I'm curious as to how bright this is to try and gauge it. What's the f-stop on your scope then?
Shot at f5.8.
That's pretty bright still then. Nice. I'm looking forward to this comet, assuming it doesn't fizzle out and disappear on us northern hemisphere guys. I can't wait.
Comets are particularly difficult to photograph because if you take more than 60 seconds, then the comet itself starts to trail. So unless you're actually tracking or you've put your guide cam on the comet itself, which would then trail all the stars out, you've got something is going to trail. So you have to make that decision as to what you're going to track and what you're going to stack on.
You know what? I like the sound of this challenge. Maybe not with my man. I'm also going to click back on Martin's view because he did mention actually the tricky part of this photo was getting the tidal trail, and I'm just trying to right. So this is some kind of interaction between the galaxies. I'm assuming. I'm somewhat confused as to this because I've never actually tried imaging the Leo triplet. I've tried imaging one galaxy out of a lot, but never tried the whole bunch. Behind the tail behind M66. Okay, folks, which one's M66?
I think he's talking about the that sort of cloud that you can see off the top one.
I did think that was it. Nice. So is this this tail is what, stars being ejected out of the galaxy or being shifted around by the other ones?
I'm not actually sure. I'm not good with galaxies.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's probably interaction with something else in the background. Which is what it generally is with galaxies. Whenever things like that are happening, it's generally to do with something to do with gravitational forces from other galaxies, like any intersecting.
Nice.
Talk about it a lot on my club. But,
I was going to say, I've photographed some galactic interaction with the Whirlpool galaxy and its little companion that shot through it. And oh, Paul, you just had to do it. Paul, I know this sounds a little bit weird, but I love you, man. Nice. That is lovely. And that, if you're wondering, folks, that could be possibly the Triffid. I like it. That is really nice. That is still, I'm sorry, it's still one of my favourites.
I think this might be in HA, so we don't see the reflection side of it as much.
Nice. I need to. I keep saying it. I need to move. Right then, folks. I also not only have I think I may have actually now got the weight of my tube now. Thank you. But now I just need to find a bar job and a way of moving to Australia. But on that bombshell, I suppose we ought to say goodbye. We've had some cracking live views brought in by Andrew and Paul tonight. We've had some interesting and witty banter. I'm going to stick a PG-13 label on this particular show, I think.
No, it's all John's fault.
Yeah, we're completely blaming John for this one.
I knew you were going to say that.
I apologise now to our audience for the rabble that we've had. But no, thank you for joining.
That's what I was going to get 2 Brits in the room.
Yeah, right, yeah. It's just lucky it's not later on at night for me. I'd be swigging a beer right now. First of all, thank you to everyone that joined and watched the show, and everyone on Q&A who made comments and have had questions and suggestions for us. It's always appreciated you guys joining in. This is part of the fun of the show. It is interactive. You can join in with us nut jobs. That always makes it somewhat more interesting. And no trolls this week as well. So that's always a bonus as well. We haven't tried to lick elbows. So, if you are wanting to tune in again, and we haven't scared you off with John's foul behaviour, you can join us next week when we'll be doing the Western Nighttime Edition, which is a slightly different time, but it does mean that American telescope operators can bring us views of their night sky, and Australian folk can bring us live views of the sun, or daytime planets, or just their clouds. Depending on how you look at it. This brings me to the fact that we are needing some American telescope imaging guys, or just guys with nice, all-sky cameras. But yeah, if you have a telescope and a camera that can be plugged into a laptop and you can screen share your view, you can always ask any of the guys on this show, myself and Dylan, how to set it up on Google+. And we would, we'll happily help you get into the show and hopefully stream some live views. So, or if you know someone who would be into doing that, let them know. Show them the show, and check it out. We also have the Flickr group, so if you can't do live, you can submit images to the Flickr group. If you search Global Star Party on Flickr, you can find us quite easily, submit images, we'll look at them on the show. Always useful if we're all clouded out, we can discuss and look at your fantastic photos. I had a glance myself a couple of days ago in between nursing the headache and going to work, and there's some absolutely beautiful photos on there, so thank you to everyone who submits on the Flickr group. That is awesome. You can find us on Google Plus as Global Star Party. Spread the word. We're trying to get live views of space to as many people as possible, and if you like what we're doing, then please feel free to big us up and share us out there. It's always appreciated. And you can also get us on Twitter, who Paul is the Lord and Master of and does a great job of doing for us. And we tweet out stuff on the Flickr group. We tweet out the show. And yeah, anything cool happening in space right now, which is a lot of stuff because a lot of space is really cold. Oh, I shouldn't write jokes. Anyhow, thank you to Dylan for helping co-host the show tonight. You know, it's always appreciated.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much. And yeah, episode 12. We'll have episode 13 next week.
Uh-oh. It's that number. We're scared of 13s.
13 and a half.
Dylan, if we want to check out your amazing astrophotography and general awesome photos, where's the best place to get you?
Either on Diography.com, which is where I share out most of the good photos, or Instagram, which is where you can see what I'm eating as well.
Ah, yes. Yeah, my Instagram's like that. Lots of space photos, and occasionally when it's cloudy, sunflowers. So, yeah. We've also been joined by Andrew, who's brought us some absolutely lovely live views. Cheers, dude. He's muted still and staring intently at a screen from the looks of it. But,
Yeah, thanks for having me.
it's always a pleasure. Thank you for bringing in the live.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I try to bring as many photos as I can, but sometimes cloud gets in the way, like a couple of weeks ago.
Ah, yes, pesky cloud. We are the anti-cloud channel a lot of the time. And Andrew, if we want to check out some of your photos from between the clouds, where's best to check out your work?
Actually, don't have many on the web. I've got some on Facebook and some on the Google Plus pages, so you can probably find me there.
Sweet. Well, basically what you're saying is, folks, if you want to see Andrew's amazing space photos, just watch the show and check them out live. There you go. Right. And Paul, thank you. You bring awesome. And you brought the Trifid right at the end, which means you've got double bonus points this time around. But thank you, dude, for bringing in the live.
It's okay.
Hey, it's more than okay. It's awesome. Thank you. And where can we check you out? Not literally speaking.
I'm Astro Stu on Twitter, and you can find me on Google Plus at Paul Stewart NZ.
Sweet. Thank you, mate, for bringing in those views. Absolutely epic. Now then, we also have been joined, as you may have noticed this evening, by the PG-13, John.
Hello.
Now then, John.
Yes.
Where, if you do any astrophotography, where can we find your pictures?
Oh, the astrophotography costs too much. I do stuff on. I put stuff on Flickr under the handle Photos Inferno. A little bits, odds and sods that I put up. I do Instagram under that same moniker as well. So if you find Dylan, you'll see me and Dylan bantering between the two of us.
Nice.
At the moment, I'm just sort of going through mount changes and computer updates and all that sort of jazz. So
it's the season to be shopping for mounts, it turns out. So thank you for joining us and bringing us some commentary and what have you. It's appreciated.
Yeah, I'll be quieter next time.
It's all right. We've not put you in the naughty corner quite yet. And also, thank you to Trevor for joining us, who's still suffering clouds.
Yeah, still suffering cloud. Thanks to Chris.
Look, just because I bought 7 filters in a space of 2 months isn't not my fault. You've got clouds.
7 years of cloud, that is.
Yeah, that's like breaking a mirror right there, isn't it? Oh dear. Right. Well, thank you, Trevor, for joining us. Hopefully, you get some clear views soon, and you can bring them into the show live or live.
Yes.
Come in, mate.
It'll be nice.
Episode 13.5.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 13. Yeah, 13.5. Let's skip that. Yeah. Oh God.
I've been dying to get my new scope out for a long time, and since I've bought it, I haven't had any clear nights.
As is the curse and frustration. I feel for you, man. I know the feeling. And also, thank you to Martin for joining us and bringing that beautiful view of the Leo triplet. That was absolutely lovely. Great photo, mate, and thank you for joining us. If you've ever got the chance to do any live through the show, you know, please join us again and bring more in, or more of those epic photos. I will take that anytime. And you can find me, God forbid if you actually want to find me on the internet, but you can find me on Instagram and on Twitter as @CKEMU. It's a long story. I'll get to it one day. But you can find me on there. My Instagram is mostly pictures of space, intermittent with the occasional selfie, picture of sunflowers, and whatever I had for dinner. So it's an interesting mix, but you get Spaghetti Nebula and spaghetti on the same thing. So feel free to check that out. I'm on Twitter @CKMU. I tweet out my photos, Global Star Party when we're going live, things like that. General space stuff that I find on the internet, and occasionally the amusing rants from me as well. Bar work does tend to lead to the occasional amusing rant. And you can find me on Google Plus at Chris Kennedy 1, where I post all my photos, whether it be the sun, the moon, planets, clouds, the occasional sunflower. The whole lot goes up there, but it's 99.9% spacey. And also this show, you can find me posting this show on there as well. So always a great way of keeping on track of what we're up to at the Global Star Party. Thank you to everyone that joined us and watched us live tonight. And also to those of you watching in the future and watching the replay, yeah, thanks for watching us. You know, glad you were able to kind of watch the replay and check us out. Thank you everyone who joined me in the Peanut Gallery tonight. And yeah, next week, live nighttime views from the Western Hemisphere. Me looking somewhat more groggy because it'll be just after a bar shift. But hey, you never know. I might have clear skies and can do some live myself. Touch wood, fingers crossed. Nobody jinxed it for a lifetime now. So thank you, and good morning, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and hopefully see you next week. Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.